On today's episode of You Asked, can you remove light scratches from a TV screen? When should you get your TV calibrated, and how much should you expect to spend on that? And why does YouTube look better on your phone than your TV? Welcome back, everyone. I'm Caleb Dennison, and this is You Asked, the show in which I answer questions you asked in hopes that I can help you and others with similar tech questions. If you've got a question you need answered, please email it to youasked@digitaltrends.com and tune in Sundays at 7:45 a.m. Pacific time to see if your question gets picked to be answered on the show. We are going to start with one that hurts a little bit, or at least might give you that yeesh feeling. Charles in Texas writes, I was building a media shelf and one of the support poles fell and scratched my LG C3 OLED TV. After I calmed down, after a righteous fury at myself, I checked to see what, if anything, could be done. It seems that most agree using any sort of scratch minimizing agent, such as Polywatch, toothpaste, or even Vaseline, would ruin the anti-glare coating and make a nearly imperceptible scratch from a distance much worse. If anyone could tell me for sure if there is a safe way to further minimize this scratch, it's you. Okay, first off, Charles, I have been there. I have, and I understand the full range of emotions that you've gone through here. Second, Charles, and let me make this loud and clear for everyone else out there who may have scratched their TV screen either minimally or significantly. Do not, I repeat, do not try to repair this scratch. TV screens are not like cars. You can't sand it down a little and then restore the clear coat using a polishing compound. Anything you do to try to mitigate that scratch is basically guaranteed to make it worse. I mean, at best, you're not going to notice any improvement at all. Just don't touch it, okay? I implore you. That's it. That's the answer. No, you can't. And please don't try. Now, Charles, you mentioned that scratch is more or less imperceptible from a distance. And that's good because I can tell you from experience that nagging knowledge of that scratch, the thing that makes you see it right now, that's gonna subside in time. In fact, I'd be willing to bet money that if you were to take a self-assessment in about 3 or 4 months' time, you would probably have to admit to yourself that you went for days without even noticing it or thinking about it. That may seem impossible for you right now, but check me on that. I look forward to hearing back from you around July 4th. Someone with the handle of Bully Beef wrote in thanking Chris for his LG Essential Settings help and asked, do you still recommend getting a professional TV calibration? I'll be getting my LG C4 83-inch OLED soon. Will be doing the tweaking myself for the best color accuracy using the remote, but just wondering how much difference it would make after getting a professional calibration. Is it even worth it? And then Thomas wrote in saying, how much does a calibration cost in the US? Does any of the stores that sell the TV offer proper Calman calibration? So let's answer that last question first. I reached out to a couple of professional calibrator friends, and assuming it's an in-town call, so they don't have to travel for hours to get there, they said the service could range from $400 to $600. Maybe a little bit less, maybe quite a bit more. It depends on various factors, including what TV you want calibrated. See, some TVs take longer than others and will cost a little bit more. You may want several different picture modes calibrated for different use scenarios, and that will take longer and cost more. Bottom line, for a real cost estimate, you're going to want to ask the calibrators that you consult with for their rates based on the nature of the job and how far they need to travel to get to you. But that range that I just gave you should give you a decent idea. Now, you may find that some smaller shops, boutique stores or specialty stores might have in-house calibration services. You should definitely ask, but it's very rare that some of the big box retailer stores are going to offer anything like that. Now, as for whether you may want to get a TV calibrated, whether it's worth it, etc. This is not a cop-out answer, I swear, okay? It depends entirely upon your needs and wants. If you need your TV calibrated for professional reasons, well then it's an actual need and the decision is already made for you. If you're a super enthusiast who wants to know they are getting the most dead-on accurate picture possible, so their TV represents the content they watch as authentically as possible. In other words, it's gonna grind your gears if you don't have the peace of mind that you're getting the most absolute accurate picture possible from your TV. Well, then your compulsion makes your decision for you. Now, if you're thinking you need to get your TV calibrated because your watching habits are all over the place, sometimes you watch during the day in a bright room and sometimes at night, and you just want the best picture for all scenarios with the least amount of fuss, a calibration will offer that. But I'll add that if you're in that camp, or if you're just worried the built-in picture modes are somehow gonna be so far off that you're gonna feel like you aren't getting what you should or what you want, I'd check into reviews for that TV to find out how close to accurate that TV is in the most accurate pictured modes first. It's entirely possible you'll be happy with what the TV does in its most accurate picture modes. If you're worried a TV can't possibly look amazing without a pro calibration, well, you can solve that issue by buying a TV that is well rated for having a very accurate picture without any professional adjustment. And I talk about how a TV measures up to that kind of standard in every review. It's probably worth spending a bit more on a TV that you don't need to have serviced than spending less on the TV and then just adding a bunch of cost through calibration. I'll add that sometimes TVs do quirky things. And if you find your TV doing something quirky and you can't iron it out yourself, a calibrator consultation should reveal whether the calibrator can handle that issue for you. So call one and ask. And I do recommend that you get an ISF certified calibrator who can supply positive reviews of their work. If the calibrator doesn't seem to have a lot of great customer feedback or testimonials, well, they could be new to the job, or they could have left those customers not stoked about their experience. Like finding a great mechanic, finding the good calibrators will take a little bit of research and asking around. And hey, if you are a professional calibrator and have more feedback on why some of your customers benefited from a calibration, speak up in the comments. I know everyone watching would love to hear directly from some pro calibrators. Here's a fun one from Trevor in Wisconsin, who wrote, "Recently, I noticed a stark difference in streaming video quality using different devices connected to the same network. When watching low bitrate content like YouTube TV on my Samsung S90D or any other TV really, I see a lot of macro blocking during certain content. When I watch the same content on my iPhone 14 Pro, the video quality issues seem to disappear and the video seems clearer than I've seen on my TV. I know there can be a difference in video quality between high-end and more budget TVs, mainly from their processing capabilities, but is there that much of a difference between the processing capability of my TV versus my phone? Or is something else going on here?" Thanks, Trevor. So yeah, something else is going on here. The screen resolution of your iPhone 14 Pro is 2556 by 1179 pixels. Nowhere close to 4K. Now, if you watch a 16:9 aspect ratio video on an iPhone in landscape mode, your width gets cut down because black bars get placed on the sides. The video is simply not as wide as your phone is in that landscape mode. Now you're working with 2092 by 1179 pixels. That is just barely above 1080p. So what we're looking at here in your comparison is the difference between 1080p on a tiny screen and maybe sometimes 4K on a big screen, more likely 1080p on a big screen. Now, if the content you're watching on YouTube TV were in 4K, I suspect you would notice less of a difference between the 4K presentation on your TV and the 1080p presentation on your phone. But there's still gonna be a difference, right? Because the bit rate for 4K tends to be lower relative to the resolution than the bit rate for 1080p. Again, relative to the resolution. But the thing is, most of the content on YouTube TV is not in 4K. In fact, a lot of it is 720p, maybe 1080i. The upscaling jump from 720p to 1080p is much easier to pull off than the upscaling jump from 720p to 4K. And that 720 to 1080 jump is also easier than 1080 to 4K. Bottom line is, your TV has a much heftier job than your phone ever will. Now let's also toss in the fact that the pixel density for your phone is around 460 ppi, or pixels per inch, versus around 67 for a 65-inch 4K TV. And with that, you have a recipe for a YouTube TV video that looks much crisper and sharper on your phone than it ever will on your 4K TV. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. Don't forget to email in those questions and tune in right here at 7:45 a.m. Pacific time on Sundays. Drop me a comment. Let me know how you're doing. Like and subscribe, as we say here on the tube. I'll see y'all on the next one, maybe from Japan. And until then, here's 2 other videos I think you might like. It's the, can you buff out a scratch on a TV?